Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of Fight Talks. First off, I want to apologize for my voice. I came down with a cold last night, pretty much watching the fights. I don't know if my symptoms flaring up had anything to do with the horrible injustice that I saw made to the now former WBC super featherweight champion of the world, Ochaki Chalk Foster, as he faced the what many people consider a step up in competition, a staple in 130, Robson Conceicao, the Brazilian Robson Conceicao. Robson Conceicao came into this fight with a record of 18-2-1. His two losses were only to Oscar Valdez and Shakur Stevenson. His majority draw was against Navarrete. Ochaki Chalk Foster, or Ochaki Ice Water Foster, came into this fight with a record of 22-2-0. His two losses came early in his career, and I'm not one to make excuses for anybody, but really, he was going through some things in life that most of us, myself included, are lucky enough to never have to deal with. But in 2017, Ochaki Chalk Foster was incarcerated when the horrible Hurricane Harvey struck Houston. It is at this point that Ochaki Chalk Foster vowed and promised himself that if he did get another chance, because he was sentenced to 20 years in prison, if he did get another chance, he would put everything into his boxing career and really try to turn things around. And he did just that. In such a short period of time, he became the WBC super featherweight champion of the world. His route to the championship was extremely difficult and really unlikely. He did make himself undeniable, but it was a stroke of luck because nobody wanted to take a chance against such a dangerous fighter that was not known. Like, he wasn't super popular. He was rebuilding his career at the time, but his skills were way further along than his popularity was. His popularity needed to catch up. And on top of that, once again, he had losses on his record, which nowadays can be a death sentence to your boxing career. So, all that being said, Ochaki Foster only got his title shot when Shakur Stevenson decided to leave the 130 division, move up to 135, vacating his WBC title. At this point, Ochaki Chalk Foster had made himself undeniable and was given a shot to fight for this vacant title against no other than the renowned and popular Mexican boxer Rey Vargas. Let me run through the dates real quick so you guys get an idea of how quickly and how much he fought this year. Rey Vargas, that title shot for the vacant title against Rey Vargas, that was on January 11th of 2023. Then on that same year, on October 28th, he made his first title defense against Eduardo Hernandez. He went to Eduardo Hernandez's hometown in Mexico and fought him and won by TKO late in the 12th round. That was an amazing fight. By the way, it was straight out of the movie. It was a Rocky. It was a Rocky movie. If you haven't seen it, I suggest you go watch it right now. That fight alone will make you a fan of Ochaki Foster today. Then, later on, early this year, really, he fought a popular fighter, Abraham Nova. This was on February 16 of 2024. And he won by split decision. Now, that was a very weird split decision in itself. I don't know how one judge saw it for Abraham Nova. Shaq had the fight under control the whole time. But he got a split decision, and I was very suspicious of that at that point. How could anybody see that? So all that I say it to say this. Given that Foster is yet not as popular as other fighters might be, his career is still in progress. He's still building his fan base. I always thought he was vulnerable to being robbed because boxing is a business. And there's people that control this. And there's people that have big influence on the outcomes. I just never thought it would happen after such a dominant performance. I mean, I hadn't seen anything quite like this since Tim Bradley and Manny Pacquiao. This this was a boxing clinic. This was as one-sided as it can get. There might have been a round or two that Conceisao stole because he stepped on the gas for a little bit, but that's it. And even those were very debatable. And to be fair, I only saw one. I'm just saying those to be nice to you guys. I only saw one, and I think it was like the fourth round or something like that. That I thought, well, maybe he sold that round. Maybe. Huge maybe. Because when the fight ended, I told my friend, there's a high probability that one or two of these judges just saw this as a shutout. 120 in favor of Foster. I mean, if you hadn't watched the fight up till that point, all you needed to look at is the fighters' faces. The most damage Robson Conceicao did was late in the fight with an accidental headbutt. Other than that, Foster just never allowed him to set up his offense. He was never effective. Foster fought a lot of the fight in the Philly shell as he does. This is the signature Mayweather style. He was catching a lot of the punches, a lot of Conceisao's punches with his shoulder and his gloves. He was moving amazing. He was just never there to get hit. But he wasn't running. He was right there in front of him, fighting. And he pressed forward when he didn't need it to. In the end, I just think Foster was too good, too fast, too young, too strong, just better everywhere. There was nothing that you saw in that fight that would make you think that Robson Conceicao had a chance against Foster. So when the cards read like this, the first card by Anthony Lundy read 116, 112. I was shocked, and my shock was echoed by the shock on the face of Foster. He also could not believe it. But what he could not believe is what followed up. Because at the worst, I thought, well, damn, this guy, Anthony Lundy, he found 4 rounds for Robson? That's crazy. But what was more shocking was that it wasn't in favor of Foster. It was in favor of Robson Conceicao. The first judge read 116, 112 in favor of Conceicao. The second judge read 116, 112 in favor of Foster. And the third judge read 115, 113 in favor of Conceicao. Now that's insane, guys. Nobody was more surprised at any of this than Foster's own opponent. They were standing there, waiting for their sentence. You could see their faces. They knew they had lost. It was heartbreaking to watch that post-fight interview with Foster, in which the reporter asked what he thought about the results. And he said, I thought I had a shutout. It was easy. I didn't get hurt. He didn't touch me. I'm paraphrasing, but that's pretty much what he said. And the reporter echoed those sentiments. He was like, I saw the same thing. So him and the manager immediately called for a rematch. And I really hope he gets it. But it's tough. I don't know if he will. Because if you're Robson Conceicao, or better yet, I'm in Robson Conceisao's team and I'm advising him, we all know that title was a gift. You lost the whole fight. You likely lost all 12 rounds. There's nothing to look for in this rematch. You will lose. And contrary to Tim Bradley and Pacquiao, where Manny Pacquiao might have been Tim Bradley's biggest payday, Chuck yet doesn't have that fan base. Yet. He will get it soon. I believe this fight was a setup for that. But again, since Foster still does not have that huge fan base that some other popular fighters have, there's very little motivation for Robson to get this fight done, this rematch done. And unfortunately, I don't know if it's gonna happen at least anytime soon. And that's extremely unfair. I don't know if any fighter, after seeing that fight, any other champion, wants to give Foster a chance. He's just too good, too dangerous, and that's the problem we have right now. Where do we go from here? Because you can, if you stole from Manny Pacquiao, don't worry about him. He was still a star back then. He'll get a fight, and he's kind of above the titles. He was above the titles at that point. It didn't really, titles was a secondary thing. It didn't really matter. He was the fight. He was the fight he wanted to fight, regardless of titles, just because of the payday. Unfortunately, Foster is not there, and because of that, he might get bullied. He might get pushed to the side and be avoided like he was when he was coming up. We might be back to square one, but we as the boxing fans, we cannot let that happen. So please, I encourage every single one of you that's listening here to go to the Top Ranks Instagram page, their Twitter, to go to the WBC's Instagram page and their Twitter, and everybody, and let everybody know how disgusted and upset you are about these results. That's the only thing we can do as fans to maintain some sort of integrity within this sport, because it's such a corrupt sport and nobody is holding these judges accountable. I do hope Teddy Atlas, the great Teddy Atlas, gets his boxing commission together. If you haven't signed his boxing his letter, the signature to get a boxing commission going and unify and try to get put some order in the sport of boxing, very much like every other sport in the US or in the world. If you haven't done that, it's on Teddy Atlas's Twitter. Please go look it up. Please go sign it. We cannot allow this anymore. This is a severe injustice. This is a robbery. Something like this can really destroy or derail someone's career in boxing. Foster should be thinking now about his next title defense. He should be celebrating. He should be looking at his options, all the options that he should have, such as unifying titles, perhaps moving to up to 135 and facing some of the big names over there. But instead, he got robbed. And now he's trying to figure out what to do. Nobody's holding any of these judges or any of these commissions accountable. So I think the fans need to be called to arms and stand up for their fighters. Because the fighters are being robbed, and that's horrendous. But we are also being robbed, and we are being called stupid. Okay, if they read those cards last night, they thought you would believe it. They are calling you, the fan, stupid, and they will feed you anything. Okay, so let's stop this. Please go to Top Rank. Please go to WBC, to the ESPN networks, to Teddy Atlas, and sign his petition. Let's get something rolling. because this is horrendous. This cannot happen anymore. So that's it. That's all I have for today, you guys. Please go ahead, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Especially in this video, guys. We need to hold everybody involved in the sport we love accountable, because nobody's doing it. And there's horrible injustices just like this one being done way too often. Way too often, guys. And nobody's doing anything about it. So we need our dissatisfaction. Let them know how upset we are. We need to be heard. That's it. Until next time, you guys. Take care.